Good evening, everyone. I hope that I'm clearly audible and visible. Well, I would like to first off welcome you all to the webinar, which is conducted by IDM Nations Campus about career avenues for legal professionals. Before moving on, I would like to introduce the two resource persons that we have. First off, I would like to introduce Senior Attorney at Law, former lecturer of the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo, LLB, LLM, and a PhD scholar at University of Colombo in the area of alternative dispute resolution, Mr. J.M Wijebandara. So I would like to introduce our other resource person, Attorney at Law, LLB and LLM, Mr. Nirmal Poornajith. Good evening.
Good evening, Sasindu. Good evening.
Good evening. All right. So before we start off today, the whole purpose of today's webinar is to provide a career guidance to young law students as well as prospective law students to identify different available career avenues available other than practicing law in courts itself, which would include a broader scope of what is available inside the court as well as what is available outside court. So, Wijebandara sir, basically I was explaining to the participants on the purpose of today's meeting on what exactly a law professional can do other than just speaking in court. So I would like to invite you to start off the session on the broader scope of what a law professional can do within courts and the insight that you can give to them.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening to all of you. Hope you all are either law students or students who expect to follow law. Are there any lawyers in the group at the moment? So, in principle, the legal profession we have inherited from United Kingdom legal system. Though we are an independent state in contemporary times, our system of legal hierarchy and some of most pertinent principles we are derived from United Kingdom's legal system. So legal profession as a whole, you have many avenues, threshold avenues with regard to how you enter to the legal profession. You have to be an attorney at law of Supreme Court of Sri Lanka for you all to be recognized as legal practitioners in Sri Lanka. To achieve that, you have Sri Lanka Law College. If you directly enter to Law College, after having completed 3 years at Law College and get through your final examination, then you have to follow 6 months apprenticeship period, and thereafter you are eligible to take oath as an attorney at Sri Lanka. After taking oath, you will be considered a professional attorney at law. That is direct path through Sri Lanka Law College. Or else, if you do your LLB degree, either in Sri Lanka Law Faculty, University of Colombo, Peradeniya or Jaffna, or Law Faculty, Kotalawala Defense University, you have to sit for law college final examination. So after completion of LLB degree and getting your registration, so you can sit for the final examination, and thereby you also become eligible to take oath as an attorney at law after completing 6 month apprenticeship period. The third category in Sri Lanka, those who got London LLB from the recognized institution of Sri Lanka, other than those institutions I just mentioned, you have to sit for all 3 exams at law college after completion of your London LLB. So you go to sit for your first year exam once, If you get through that, you have to, next step is second year exam. Once you get through second year, then you can sit for your third year exam. Of course, these three steps you can, unlike direct entrance to law college, you can complete, if no failures on your part, within 1.5 years. After you get through law college final exam, as I explained previously, you are eligible after completion of 6-month apprenticeship period to be enrolled as an attorney at law of Supreme Court of Sri Lanka. Now, this is the way that, according to the existing system, you got to qualify as a professional attorney at law. So once you qualified as a professional attorney at law, what are the available paths in legal practice in Sri Lanka for you to excel in your chosen career? Sri Lankan court system, can be divided into basically two. It's a hierarchy commencing from top apex court, Supreme Court, thereafter Court of Appeal, thereafter Civil Appellate High Court, Criminal Appellate High Court or Provincial High Court, and then Criminal High Court, another court system. Those all high courts are parallel. Commercial High Court, which deal with commercial transactions. So there are 4 types of high courts in Sri Lanka after Supreme Court and Court of Appeal. Those 4 types of high court: general criminal high courts, civil appellate high court exercising appellate jurisdiction in respect of civil matters, then provincial high court that exercises appellate jurisdiction in respect of certain areas of criminal matters, and then commercial high court, which dealing with commercial transaction of which value exceed more than 20 million. So thereafter, you get to the first instance courts. Of course, commercial high court exercise as a first instance commercial court. The criminal high court exercise its jurisdiction as a first instance criminal high court. Thereafter, first instance civil court is the District Court of Sri Lanka. We have number of jurisdictions in Sri Lanka. Then magistrate court, which deal with minor criminal matters. And thereafter, another court, namely primary court or small claim courts. Small claims, of course, court jurisdiction is exercised currently by the district court, and the primary court jurisdiction is being exercised currently by the magistrate court. These are the system. There are, other than this court system, there are administrative tribunals. For example, labor tribunals, administrative appeal tribunal, Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, custom tribunals, tax tribunals. So there are various kind of, other than the formal court system, some administrative tribunal where they have the jurisdiction to look into their respective matters. For example, Department of Custom and its officers, it has inquirers in respect of custom dispute. Labor tribunal is particularly established to deal with contract of service and other labor matters. So those forums are also available for an attorney at law to practice in your selected area. So practice mean, is it only addressing the court? That is the question I pose, and most of you also may be having that problem. It is not that. That legal practitioner can use his or her expertise in many ways. If you are going to be a counsel means the person who appear before open court forums and represent a particular client and represent his case before the tribunal or the bench, or in simple mean before the judge or panel of judges. That is the area that we call counseling. So as a counsel, you can appear in Supreme Court of Sri Lanka, which is mainly deal with fundamental right jurisdiction, fundamental right petitions. Then constitutional interpretation jurisdiction, various bills are presented to parliament. The citizen has a right to challenge the constitutionality of all bills if they chosen to do so before the Supreme Court. So Supreme Court hear those type of application, that is interpreting the constitution, firstly fundamental right, or then dealing with the parliamentary bills, then presidential election petitions, and also Supreme Court act as a final appellate court in respect of judgment delivered by Court of Appeal, maybe provincial civil appellate high courts. That is the appellate jurisdiction. Other than that, contempt of court jurisdiction also vests with the Supreme Court if contempt is taken place outside a courtroom in respect of any court in Sri Lanka. So Court of Appeal as well as Supreme Court exercise contempt of court jurisdiction. Then Court of Appeal also exercise appellate jurisdiction, revisionary jurisdiction in respect of lower courts. So in all these forums, your conduct before Supreme Court or Court of Appeal as a counsel is different from first instance courts. So before Supreme Court, there are very rarely the clients are being heard personally or individually in person. And there won't be any cross-examination, leading evidence by clients or any other official witnesses. So briefs are set by the first instance court or by those petitioners who file documents. All documents are, we call is a brief. Briefs are formulated and set by the parties or either by court administrative.
All right. Since Mr. Wijebandara is having some network issues, I would like to move on this webinar into inviting Mr. Nirmal Poornajith, attorney at law, into starting off with what exactly a law professional can do with regards to what they can do outside the court.
If you are not going to practice in a court as a lawyer, what you should do, right? So since Sasindu said that the participants, among the participants, there are prospective students as well, and there are students who are currently following the LLB. Let me ask you a small question, right? To storm your brain. Think why you decided to become a lawyer. As to why I should become a lawyer, right? This is the ask from yourself. You might have different answers. Maybe you've seen lawyers driving a Merc, okay? Or else you might have seen big counsels making their submissions before the court. So you might have thought, so this is the guy I want to be one day, want to become one day. So different things. First, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. You should decide before entering this career. You should decide as to why you should become a lawyer. You should have a proper answer for this, right? So if you have a proper answer for this, by the end of your academic career, it will be easy for you to jump start your professional career. Now, because most of all the students, right, there are many students who follow an LLB just because it's said that it's good to be a lawyer, it's great to be a lawyer, right? Some follow an LLB just because of that. But what I'm telling you, if you really want to become a lawyer, or if you really want to work in a path associated to law, you should really have that need from your inside, right? So first answer that question, so it will be easier for you. Now, what I was told was to explain you what are the career opportunities that are available to you without becoming a without becoming a practitioner, right? But before that, I think I should share some of my experience, and I should tell you some of the key features, of the ground, right? The reality of the practice in Sri Lankan court systems, right? Because I'm telling you this, I'm delivering this to you because when I was a fourth year student in the university, I did not know these things. It took me a lot of time to learn these things by myself, right? But since you all are following the LLB, you don't have much time to get mingled with the practicing lawyers. But this is a different story to the students from the law college. The court is next to in the near vicinity of the law college. So every day they see what lawyers do, they build up good connections. So they are well prepared when they enter the profession. But it's a little bit different to the students who are following the LLB and step into the law college exams, right? So you should understand here in Colombo, I'm telling you what I'm telling you now. These are not in written laws, right? These are the traditions of the practice, the nature of the practice in our court system. Now, when it comes to suppose that now you have completed your LLB, and next is you have faced the bar association examinations also. I mean, completed the local college exams. Then you have to pass the apprenticing period, whereas you have to work with a senior lawyer. So, what am I going to do next? First, you have to understand the reality of the practice is the practice in Colombo. I mean, the urban areas, and when it goes far from Colombo, it takes there's a big difference, right? In Colombo and in the near vicinity, course of near vicinity, there are some lawyers are working as instructing attorneys, right? Now, who are instructing attorneys? Instructing attorneys are the lawyers who are dealing with the documentation of a matter. They are the proxy holders, right? Then there are counsels. Counsels are the ones who go before the court and make the applications and arguments, right? This, as I said you earlier, this is not written in a book. This is something developed by the tradition. But when it goes to outstation areas, usually the the proxy holding attorney and the counsel becomes one, right? But and there's another thing. Now, when you step into a career, right, your ambition is to go forward, right? But here, for practitioners like us who are practicing as private practitioners, so we don't have promotions. It's just the seniority that we get with the age, right? And the prestige and all that. But if you join the AG's department, Attorney General's department, as an attorney, you get a salary from the Attorney General's department, and there are various positions of the hierarchy, right? You can become a state counsel, then a solicitor, and up to the level of the AG you can go, right? Now, for an example, I myself is a lawyer of the private bar. That's a decision that you can take. And that's another thing. As I told you earlier, from the practice, now I told you, we don't have promotions, right? But with the time, with the seniority, you get a position called, you can get a position called the, who we call president's counsel, right? So people who enter this field with a great ambition to go a long journey, they can focus on becoming a president's counsel, right? So it's a position where with your seniority, you can apply to that particular position, and if the president thinks you are eligible for that, you are accorded that sort of honorable position, right? And you have to keep in your mind, by tradition, it is something that has been developed. Only the counsels, only the lawyers who are going before the court and making arguments, not the instructing attorneys, can apply to that position. That is something that you have to keep in your mind. So if you are expecting to go a very long journey, you have to keep it in your mind, right? And if you are doing notaries also, you will not be, generally, you will not be eligible to apply for that post. This will come handy down the line someday to you when you become lawyers, right? That's one thing. And there's another thing. Now we are talking on the assumption that you all have become lawyers, right? Then there's another thing. As soon as you pass out from the law college, there comes a problem for you. You have to find an attorney a senior attorney to work with, right? This is a major problem most of all the students who follow an LLB case, because they are not much familiar with the practicing lawyers, right? So you have to. So my advice for you is to, if you may be a student who's following the LLB currently, so you will be facing this sooner or later. So try to maintain a good relationship with senior lawyers, right? Go talk to them, meet them, so build up your relationship that will come handy to you one day. That's one thing that I wanted to tell you. Then there's another thing. So suppose there's someone who's determined to be a good lawyer, right? And you should know that we as lawyers market ourselves directly or indirectly, right? That's why that's taught to you in ethics lesson. That's why lawyers are using a very small board, just just a black and white board, name and the position, name such and such, attorney at law, right? So we cannot go out and market ourselves. So suppose that you complete your LLB, you you pass the bar exams as well, you work with a senior lawyer, and you step into the practice. So how can you find cases? Do you really think that by just putting a board, people will come to you and give you, okay, do this job for me, appear before the court for me, right? Will they give you work? Do you think like that? That is the thing that you have to understand. People will not just come to you like you are going to a small boutique and buying a thing. People will not come to you. So you have to, right? You're going to be lawyers. So you have to be brainiac. This is the reality. You have to know the art of spreading your name, right? So someday you will understand what I'm telling you. But let me give you a small example, whether you like it or not. We have seen a lot of lawyers doing politics, right? And they take part in different programs, right? That is one way that people get to know you, right? Doing politics is good or bad, that's something else. But if the reality of the practice is, if you want to become that counsel, that great counsel who's with a lot of money in his pocket, you have to have your name spreaded. That's how people get to know you, and that's how people come to you and give you a case to handle. That's one reality that you have to learn, right? Then there's another thing that I wanted to speak you of. Now, if you are not going to, if you don't feel that I should not go to courts, and if you are reluctant to go before the court and make arguments and all that, there are a number of opportunities waiting for you. Actually, there's no need of explaining you one by one, because you can go to the internet and search. There are I also searched on the internet before coming to the session. So I saw like on one site they have listed like 64 pathways that are associated with law, right? So like job opportunities. Then, but here in Sri Lanka, if you're not going to be a lawyer, practicing lawyer, basically you can become a legal officer of a particular company. But you have to know the fact that even bigger, even the companies usually, even though they get a legal officer, an in-house lawyer, they prefer to retain a practicing counsel from the outside. So you have to keep it in your mind that if you are going to not becoming a legal officer, it's not bad, but you have to keep in your mind that that frames you to a particular 8 to 5 job. You have to keep it in your mind, and with seniority you can earn a decent salary, and that's one thing. Then you can become a paralegal. If not, you can become a paralegal who is providing your services to overseas companies. I don't think, I have not heard of paralegals here in Sri Lanka. I don't know if it exists. But so if you have a basic knowledge on law, you can find on the internet and apply to become a paralegal. They usually deal with the documentation, right? They give you instruction as to what to do. So they pay you in dollars. You can become a paralegal. That's one thing. And there's another pathway which you can become a mediator, right? Mediator means a person who, it's sort of alternate dispute resolution, but the mediator's job is. That's one thing. And there are, and there's another thing that you have to understand. If you do not want to practice, if the practice does not work for you, you have the opportunity to become a magistrate, which is a very prestigious job. After having practiced for like 4 years, you can sit for the magistrate's exam, and then you can become a magistrate. That's another pathway that you can follow. And also, there are various trainers and wealth managers, consultants, right? Jobs available for you to apply if you do not want to practice in courts. Then, so we know a lot of people having completed their degrees these days, they migrate, right? Then speaking of that, you have to understand that the LLB here, or the license we get to practice here in Sri Lankan courts, is not valid in other countries, right? If you migrate, you have to get integrated to their court system, having been through their exams. For an example, if you go to United Kingdom, right? You have to go. You have to pass solicitor. You have to sit for the exam solicitors. Then you can do the exam barristers, right? But even having that, you cannot practice even in the European Union, because you have to have the specific qualifications prescribed by the particular country, right? So having been through solicitors, you can practice only in England and Wales. So if you are going to another country, you have to check with the consulate or the law societies, the counties of that particular country, and sit for those exams to practice as a lawyer in that particular country.
Mr. Wijebandara, since you had a connection issue before, would you be able to continue your insight now?
Yes. Now, let me since I happen to lose some time, so let me talk about basic skills. If you going to be a future lawyer, what are the basic skills that you got to possess? You have to build up very good reading skills. Basically, your eloquence in English is very important factor. You may be very good orator sometime, or maybe very good writer. Sometime you are talented in both as a writer as well as orator. In common platform, mostly people talk, if you're a very good orator, you will become a lawyer one day. Oratorical ability per se or itself will not make you a good lawyer once you become a lawyer. You got to know how to prepare for your, for example, if you now at this juncture or your school, you are getting prepared for a debate. So you have to have your note first. For that, you have to develop a very good reading skill, summarizing skill, and understanding skills. Those are the factors that will make you good or bad lawyers. If you are working in appellate court jurisdiction, you got to have very good memory too. So you have to read briefs in your chambers like this, and then you have to get it, you have to prepare your notes, then go to courts. So you can address, sometime the way you plan will not the way judges want to hear you. So they will pose various questions. So you have to be very much conversant about the brief that you are having on your table or that you carry to the court. So most important thing is the ability to read and eagerness to read, how you prepare for your particular case or debate. At the moment, if you are not a lawyer, I can give examples when you get into ready for a debate or something. So then if those skills are there with you, you have to improve. So what I want to highlight here is that you don't need not to be a very good orator to become a successful lawyer. The more you know, more you improve your knowledge. If you talk to your neighbor or face to face, if two persons talk to each other in courtroom, that is how it's happened. You need not to be a very good orator to talk to your friend and convince your friends. To convince, so you have to adapt a pattern. You have to develop skills, how to listen, how to present, and also follow the body language of the person whom you expect to convince. Maybe it's Supreme Court or Court of Appeal or any other place. That is the skill that you need to develop. As a law student or the person who expect to do law, from the moment you become a law student, you have to follow this skill. You have to read more compared to your other friends. And you have to learn a pattern of reading and pattern of preparing your own notes. If you build up these skills as a law students, then after 3-4 years, if you build up this pattern, it will be a great help for you to become a successful lawyer. And also, when a lawyer begins, as previous resource person I heard saying, you have to start as a junior. Start as a junior. Then maybe first 2-3 years, you will not get any case to present. But you have to prepare learn how to prepare a brief. How much you can type, your typing speed or computer literacy, those are very pertinent, very much important to become a lawyer. If you don't have those abilities, you cannot be fit into any chamber where a very busy senior is working. So from the inception, after you become a lawyer, if you want to fit into a particular chamber, so there are small roles that you got to play as a junior counsel. Then you have to learn how to keep particular papers in order, read and understand, listen and understand, when a consultation is going on, when you are senior, so you sit there and ability to follow it and grab something. Those are the skills that you need to develop. Listen, understand, and keep it in memory. If you lack those skills, it's very difficult for you to be successful in legal profession. Therefore, basically nowadays, whether it is a law LLB graduate or a person who passed out from law college or a person who passed out from as a London LLB, whatever ways, when you initially enroll into a law chamber, you got to develop your skills of typing, skill of email transmitting, searching of documents, searching of cases, searching of resources or past judgments. So these are the skills you got to build. If you are capable of these skills, you will get more works from the day you join to a chamber. More you get works, you get a room to learn trial and error. So you will not go straight away go to present a case, but then you will work some. Then your senior will check, what have you done? If senior see some of your abilities that, okay, this guy or this girl is very capable in doing this, then you will be recognized into particular chamber. And sometimes you will have a continuous opportunity to work in that particular chamber. Therefore, basic skill, other than you get to the exam, getting through the examination is a totally different thing. And merely because you get through the exam, that skill itself will not carry you forward you to become a successful lawyer. You got to know how to find the law, not keep everything in your memory, not to build up pattern of writing everything when you are sitting and you are listening to consultation. In my experience, I have seen some people, moment they go to the chamber, they listen and write. That is during your exam periods. Once you're done with your exam, once you start your legal practice, even as an apprenticeship, you have to forget that pattern. You have to first listen and understand. Then keep in mind some tactics. Even while you are sitting in courts, when other cases are taken up, if it is not your case, if it is not your senior's case, but some other lawyers were presenting. So you have to follow it. Follow, listen, and learn. Those are the most important skills. If the moment you build up those important skills, so you will be recognized as a junior to a chamber. That is the foremost important condition for you to commence the legal practice. If you don't recognize to a reputed chamber, of course in Colombo, outstation, of course, you have more opportunities, then you will be standard. So to win a chamber, you have to build up certain skills. Those are the skills that I just elaborated. With those skills, you will be recognized. Then from there onward, you have to move forward in legal profession. Therefore, I'm not saying it's a good oratorical skill, but writing skill, maybe oratorical skills, reading skills, and a good memory, and also computer literacy. Those are very important. Always you have to go with the modern technology. Now, of course, some very rarely our courts sit online via like this Zoom. So then even in future, it will be more. Sometime during your era, after we complete our era, you have to present your case from your chamber like this, sitting like this. So remember, those are the most important skills that you have to inculcate if you're going to be a lawyer after this lecture, or then you are just planning to become a lawyer in 4-3 years. Those are very important. Previously, of course, those were not much important. Now this is a technological world, and even searching and cut and paste, plagiarism, so many things are there when it's come to academic area. But then when a practitioner is concerned, you don't have to keep everything in memory. You have to listen raw material, raw facts, where client comes and utter before you. Thereafter, you have to arrange it in a particular order, then find what are the serious questions to be determined. Then you got to know from where you find the law. From where? If you know how to find the law by searching, by reading a book, which book you have to refer, those are the skills. That also you cannot learn by a day or two with your practice. So most important thing is you are accepted and recognized to a chamber, then you will have some work. Well, at least you are invited to go to court with your senior. Then you go, you have the forum. So you are happy that you are recognized there. Then gradually you can step forward to become a lawyer, a good counsel. If not, there are other people who are very good in filing documents that we call instructing attorney at law. That's also a very good area of practice. And also some people can do very good writing. So then they can prepare written submission. That's one of, if you take a particular chamber, there are good people who are good at doing written submission. That's a different skill. There are good people who go to court and somehow they manage to do the job according to the wishes of the senior and according to plan. Even whatever the unexpected problems come, some people are capable to handle it. So that is kind of ability that you will get gradually, not at once. And some are good at preparation of keeping the files in order, documents in order for your senior to present a case. So while you're working with a senior like this for 5 years, like doctors first train under the specialist, then the trainee become a specialist. Likewise, if you train properly under the senior, you also will build up the capacity to become a senior in your future. So with that and considering time, I leave it to the Munivara to open up the question session. Hello.
Hi. So so now thank you very much, Mr. Wijebandara. So now we will be moving on to the Q&A sessions, a couple of clarifications and new questions that these participants have. So there are a couple of questions to both Mr. Wijebandara and Mr. Poornajith. So first of starting off with Wijebandara, sir. So this is a very interesting question presented. So does physical appearance have to do a lot when it comes to practicing law? Let's say you're a female with, let's say, a small body. Do that really do a lot? Would it really be not intimidating? Would people take such people seriously? Would it be an obstacle for you practicing law? Is there any problem such as that?
No obstacle at all. Everybody come with a particular physical appearance. So there may be various physical features, but what type of word that you're going to use, those can be things that you can develop other than your physical appearance or features. Therefore, what matters in this practice is how you present, how you talk, your capacity to learn and follow what, if, for example, if I'm talking about a counseling, then you go before a particular bench and you are presenting your case. There is opposing party also. So manner and ability and capacity that you can follow it properly. Therefore, of course, you have to be well dressed and you cannot be untidy. I mean, that is nothing to do with your inherent physical appearance. Whichever may, that doesn't matter. Even for that matter, disabled or people who are coming wheelchairs, there are lawyers who come in wheelchairs and do their cases. Sometimes they cross-examine clients in lower court, for instance, and they present case before Court of Appeal or Supreme Court. But if your argument, the way you present is proper and admirable and attractive, your physical appearance will not play any role. But having said that, you have to be very tidy, very smart, and well organized. If those things, of course, beyond physical features, the thing that people can develop or not develop. And having said that, sometimes, if you are a lady, pretty lady and all that, for small matters, even in our chambers, we sometimes send a lady lawyer to some works. They smile, and then there are, you can't eradicate all human quality. Therefore, sometimes in some, it's depend. It is very subjective, but it is not a theory, or you cannot say it is uniformly applicable everywhere. But even attraction and all these things, it has something to do with social interaction. So legal profession also kind of social interaction. But for me, it's 10% or less than 10% impact of the physical appearance. Other than that, how much you organize, the way you talk, way that other party can understand your presentation, and also your ability to follow them and face the situation. That's a very important thing. Situation that you cannot predict everything, and I'm doing this thing and I'll go and do this thing today. Totally unexpected question may pose by the bench or by opposing counsel. So then and their ability to understand and react. Those are very important things. So for me, it's 10% physical appearance, or less than that, right? I'm other resource person opinion.
Yeah, we'll move on to that as well. But there's one more question presented to you, sir. So is criminal law safe? Let's say, especially let's say a female or male, both, is practicing criminal law safe when it comes to, considering all the violence that they have? Is it actually safe, or is there anything to worry about when you practice criminal law?
It is safe indeed, irrespective of your gender. That also sometimes, like any other profession, legal profession, if your competence about what you're doing, and if your client appreciate the way you understand that particular client's trouble, whether you are a lady or man, doesn't matter. And also, practically, some people say criminal courts you are dealing with criminals. No, there will be one accused. Still he or she is a suspect. Sometime after conclusion of case, the particular suspect may be convicted or sent to jail, or maybe discharged or acquitted. So, you cannot have prejudgment saying that criminal is tough. No, maybe the incident we are not playing any part with the incident that led to filing the case. No. So all the criminals or underworld or thugs, everything happened beyond your office or chamber or beyond the scope of your profession. And once they are arrested and produced before the court, all are normal men and women. So you can present with liberty without any trouble your gender. So, but practically, there are very few ladies who are practicing. That is a problem. Law, Court of Appeal or Supreme Court, compared to men, ladies are very less. Sometimes they prefer to join banks or prefer to join as legal officers or write deeds. But any lady who are very enthusiastic and have the confidence, I will conclude saying that no obstacle at all. It is equal.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Since Mr. Poornajith is in here, a couple of questions directed at you. So are there any job opportunities? Are you here, sir?
Yes, I can hear. You pose to me or Poornajith?
Yes.
Hello.
Sorry. My connection is slow. Sorry. Sorry about that. Am I audible?
Yes.
All right. So since Mr. Poornajith isn't here, a couple of more questions for you. So one more question that's presented by one of the participants is that, are there any job opportunities only for LLB graduates until they complete their law college exams, or is it a must to complete your law college exam to start your career path?
If your service is providing as an attorney at law, you got to have your attorney at law qualification. not only LLB. LLB will not enough to become a legal practitioner. That is very clear. And if you have only the LLB, but prior to you getting qualification or enroll as an attorney at law, of course, you can work as a research officer. There are institutions like Colombo University, they have a Human Rights Center, Human Rights Research Center. So various center, you can work as a journalist, as a researcher. Those type of jobs are available. But if you want to, like previous resource person, there are no promotion in this profession, legal profession, but you got to improve yourself and you have to get self-promotion. So if you get very wide variety of clientele, that means you are yourself promoted. Therefore, with having only LLB, the person like the JLP is a professor of law, that gentleman doesn't have the attorney at law qualification. So he cannot practice as an attorney at law, but he became a professor. So if you are a lecturer in a university or any private university, to do that as a profession, lecturer, academic, you need not to have the qualification of attorney. So there are paths. If you stop at LLB without qualifying that, and also intermediate degree, until such time that you completed, yes, job opportunities are there. Even in some chambers, if you are very talented in like researching, you can join to legal chamber and do some written submission or something, provided that you have shown your ability, so that that particular chamber, senior or any legal law firm, to recognize that he can do this job. Yes, opportunities are available.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. So a couple of more questions. So can lawyers who work as practitioners practice in all areas in the island or in only a selected amount of areas?
There is no limit. For example, for me, I have done few criminal trials, but I go all over the country. I am appearing in Court of Appeal, Supreme Courts, then district courts, civil appellate courts of every district. You get a separate civil appellate courts or district or province. So I go to those courts. And labor tribunal, yes, we can. But of course, at the beginning, you have to do these things. But then with the time, you have to then analyze what type of clients you have got. So then client will decide the area you mostly involved in. So if I take my example, I started because I am very interested in doing criminal practice, but I started some cases. I did it, and I did my apprenticeship or training with 3 seniors, one who are very competent in fundamental right application or human rights. Other one is senior civil practitioner. Other one is criminal practitioner. So I went through that 6 months of my training period with all 3 chambers. So gradually, now I have become basically a civil practitioner and civil appellate courts, Court of Appeal and Supreme Court counsel. So there is no limit. Of course, no person can do everything. So with your time, and then you are compelled to select particular area and give up some areas. At the beginning, you can do anything and see. First 3 years, for example, do anything. Even if a chamber, if I am doing here, sometimes clients come with criminal matters, small matters. If I see some junior here who can handle criminal, I say, okay, you go for this. Even yesterday, there was divorce case, and there's a domestic violence case, which is a criminal matter. So I asked one of my juniors, can you handle? They said, yes, okay, you go. Sometimes during your first 3 years, you get many nights, so you can, as a trial and error, go and do it under the supervision of your senior. When you stand on your own, then you have to look at, okay, how many clients and what are the type of cases that I'm getting. So I have to concentrate in this area, so I'll get more and more. It is not a decision that you can get at once or premeditated decision. So you have to go with the time and let it happen that way.
Right. Thank you very much, sir. So one more question presented. So other than your knowledge about law that you get specifically from practicing law college, is there a necessity for you to stay in touch with current affairs, news, and all general knowledge to practice as a lawyer? Is it very much important, or would normal intellect is enough?
Yeah, 100%. Of course, yes. You go to a very knowledgeable person. You know, the type of cases that we are get. Sometimes we get product liability. Sometimes we get serious engineering or construction of, a bridge or something. It is not up to the stand. Sometimes you get medical negligence cases. Then you go to what is the surgery mean? How in that scenario a person is determined whether he is negligence or not. And you get sometimes, even criminal cases, various expert evidence coming in. And even in civil cases, sometimes the suspected signatures are questioned. Then you have to question the EQD. Sometimes your party is alleged have committed some wrong. If you are representing that party, then you have to have some knowledge about that. Because the more you have social knowledge, the legal practice is kind of social engineering. Social engineering means you have to know, the more you know about society, more you know about kind of transaction or incident that take place in society, then you know what are the type of dispute that can arise out of those transactions. Then with your knowledge, when client come and sit in front of you and say something, if your knowledge is wide, it is easy for you to understand what is your client come and say about his grievances. The moment client see that, okay, this person, this professional can understand what I say, he will remain with you. If you go and just listen, and if client also we always, sometimes we get very educated clients. They can follow us. They will observe whether we are listening properly or whether we are following him or her, and whether we have understood the question or not. If half an hour talk, if the client decide, okay, this person cannot understand what I say, next day they will not come to you. Therefore, social knowledge, current knowledge, the literacy knowledge, the internet and all these technological knowledge, all are very important. Otherwise, you cannot become a lawyer. You like showing, preparing slides, so presentation, PowerPoint presentation, those are very important nowadays. Yes, knowledge a must, not in respect of book knowledge, black letter law. You have to go beyond that. You have to inculcate wide variety of social knowledge. It's a must.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for your insight. Since we are running out of time, that's all the questions we'll be able to handle. Again, thank you very much, sir. So we hope that all participants here, prospective law students or currently practicing law students, both got a lot of insight today from both our esteemed guests, Mr. Wijebandara and Mr. Poornajith, unfortunately, who isn't in the meeting at the moment. Thank you so much for taking your time off your schedule. And with that, again, we can't wait to have all of you again in another webinar conducted by IDM Nations Campus about a separate topic which we do every week. And yeah, thank you very much for joining. Thank you, sir, and good night.
Good night.